Welcome everyone. I think good afternoon. Let's start with Vinod. We have too many systems in our manufacturing space, including MES, ERP, SCADA, add-ons. You can name too many. How do you think that in this space, where do you think the version of truth lies, in your opinion?
Okay, I think we are now good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. So it's a great, privilege to share the podium with all of you. If you look at the whole manufacturing, you have got lots of systems, and particularly when you are doing the whole digitalization, the more data is coming out, right? So now the question is that what do you do and how do you create that single version of truth which you are talking about? Because on one hand, you have got ERPs, then you have got MES, you have got energy, you have got quality, you have got even safety, you have got training. So a lot of things are happening there. So there is a need to do on an orchestration layer, which typically, unified namespace kind of concept, where you use that layer to abstract from the sources and where it gets consumed, right? You use the, probably protocols like MQTT and all, which can help you to create that orchestration layer, abstraction layer. So the advantage of that is that you can actually delink, connect to connect, because point-to-point connections, it's very hard for us. Otherwise, if you are having ERP connection from the ERP to the manufacturing plant, so why do you get basically the visibility of the data? Second is also you have got a mix of data. On one hand, you have got ERPs, then other hand, you have got machine data. So you need that unified namespace where you can actually identify and put the context to the data. So this is, I think, very important architectural decision, particularly from the data architecture point of view, which lot of manufacturing leaders miss. They feel that I have got a system in place. What more I need to do? And when they are embarking on journey on, say, for example, artificial intelligence, they want to derive a lot of insights out of it. But the data is not actually in that shape at all. It is not standardized. It is not saved, and it is not decoupled per se. So I think that if you have to really get that single version of truth, we need to invest as the leaders in that layer, in those tools. There are multiple options also available. And that way you can, if you are making any change tomorrow, you don't have to break the whole system. You need just to take this out, the publisher or the subscriber. So I think probably that's way to go as far as the best practice is concerned for that.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful. As a data practitioner myself, I can relate to what you are trying to explain. Anjali, coming to you, whenever there is a issue at a production line, in the context of IT, OT, where do you focus when you have to find out the root cause? Who owns the root cause, and how do you arrive at the right, stakeholders owning it?
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here to share insights from pharma manufacturing perspective. In practice, I think neither of IT or OT should individually own any change. It should always rely on a shared governance between operations, technology, a shared governance framework with cybersecurity. I think the team who's closest to the failure should own the analysis, but the team who's closest to the risk, which is quality and operations, should own the change. So for instance, if you look at pharma manufacturing example, where we have blister packaging lines, typically an operator reports in false rejections. Software inspection team will come and fix it, but it is the quality team who can certify whether this change is safe for patients meets the regulatory compliance, and meets the brand trust requirements. It's the operation teams who can, plant heads who can qualify it for the throughput which is required. So I think the answer is a shared governance framework where ownership is clear, but the governance is shared and common.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I think rightly pointed out, it is generally a team effort and governance around that that helps identify the root cause. Taking this joint responsibility and governance point forward, in your opinion, Vinod, moving to you, apart from the tangible benefits in IT/OT convergence, what other kind of benefits, in your opinion, we should look at if IT/OT converge and operate within a governed model?
See, first of all, I think as Anjali said, we need to understand the rules of the game. Who has to play what game? In the sense, for example, there's an IT department who are responsible to set up the infrastructure. Because all the networks, who will set up the networks? Are we expecting plant people to do that? No. So the core infrastructure in terms of network, in terms of central cybersecurity teams, so that in terms of policies, in terms of frameworks, I think that should be governed separately. But there is still a opportunity or need to converge, right? So how will IT/OT work together? And if we have the segregation of duties on what OT teams should do, which is more to do in the plant, machine should be up and running, uptime, quality, productivity. I think that goes back to what Anjali was also saying, that if there is an issue, who will fix it, right? And depending on what kind of issue you are seeing it, I think the relevant teams, so joint governance is important. But the benefit of having IT/OT as one view of the plant or the enterprise is, first of all, I would pick up the cybersecurity first. Because many times you may have a very good IT cybersecurity plan, but when you are going into OT, you have got lot of IoTs, IIoTs happening, and you may leave those machines which are today coming to yours, they are not actually patched at all. There are no firewall. So there is a great need for us to address cybersecurity as IT/OT problem and probably integrate the whole SOC. If you look at your SOCs today, they are not integrated everywhere. So IT will say that, no, it was not my problem, something happened there. So I think that is the one thing which you will get the benefit of. You will be able to save the brand, number one. Number two is that from the machine perspective, the core is that how do we make OEE better, right? The whole overall equipment effectiveness better. For that, you need to know that whether you need to do periodic maintenance of the machine or machine is going to break down. So the IoT sensors give you the data. Now the question is that, are you going to do this management of the machines on a periodic manner, or it should be condition-based monitoring? So you should do condition-based monitoring. If it is not needed, why you are doing it? Because it is impacting your production. So you can actually, from that perspective, you can make sure that your throughput, your machine uptime can go up. Again, a benefit for if you are able to leverage the data which is coming out of the machines. Third thing, which is a big one, quality. Manufacturing quality without good quality has no meaning, because you don't want to increase your scrap in your plant. So the quality aspect, using the digital technologies, using the interventions which you have, is the third, I would say, benefit. And also the collaborative teams. There you can, in terms of benefits, you can rationalize a lot of roles. Because if you are creating a parallel organizations, I think the question was more on IT/OT benefits. You don't have probably, one person can do probably both roles, and some may be specialized. So there is a great, I would say, benefit for us to look at IT/OT in one lens, while the roles, the segregation of duties can be different, but broadly the theme for the organization is still the same. You want stable networks, you want safe networks, you want productive plants, you want throughput more, and you want to have a good quality. So it is not whether you want to deliver this as part of OT plan or IT plan, it's an enterprise plan. I would put it like that.
Taking the conversion forward, Anjali, in your opinion, what other, I mean, how do you actually tap into the benefit of IT-OT convergence? If you can just explain with some example, that will be great.
I think the largest benefit that we have seen is a reduced latency in shop floor decisions. So for instance, if there is a tablet pressing machine, an operator who's operating that on the line sees there is a gradual increase in the rejection rate in the inspection software. By the time the batch gets over and they report into the quality team, they analyze the trend, goes to the business team for decision, you've already lost 3-4 hours. Yeah. Today with IT-OT convergence, the machine parameters, the environmental factors, the inspection data, and the product and the production order data is right at the edge for the decision. It can tell you that the tablet is getting rejected because the ceiling temperature is high, and raise a ticket for a maintenance engineers who can come in and fix the issue. So what can become a 3-4 hour from issue to a problem statement gets solved on shop floor at the edge in 10 minutes. So the largest benefit that we have seen is basically reduced latency in decision. And I think the future lies in moving from detecting and fixing this faster to actually predicting that the ceiling temperature is likely to go high and fix it before it actually goes high.
That's a great point. So data is becoming the center of... so Vinod, going back to you, since we see a lot of data-related intervention in manufacturing, what, in your opinion, is the governance model which will enable innovation, cybersecurity, all the other aspects of manufacturing? What should be the model which we should, tilt towards?
I think I briefly touched upon, it has to be a matrix or federated model, where the segregation of duties is very clear. For example, it will be a hub and spoke. You'll still have a central team because you have got plants. Some companies have 30, 40, 50, 60 plants all across the globe. So you still need to have a central group which is responsible for defining the frameworks, policies, standards, particularly on the infrastructure side, cybersecurity side, policy side. I think that will anyway remain. And then you also need to have teams in the center who will define the solutioning. If you look at our manufacturing side, there's a varied degree of maturity in the plants. Yeah. You may have a green plant, but you also have a brown plant. So when you have a brown plant, you have got legacy machines. Legacy machines you can't even connect. Forget about your AI and data. So you need to have this central team responsible for making sure that there is a roadmap for automation, there is a roadmap for connecting these assets, not only within the plant, but also with the enterprise systems like ERP. So a digital transformation roadmap at enterprise level, central level is needed. So once you have it, you prioritize the plants, because plants also have a responsibility. In each plant, recommendation is that, or each BU, there should be we call it digital technology lead and a business technology lead. So those are the two people. Business technology lead is a person who is having 80% business hold, 20% understands technology. And digital technology lead is a person who understands 80% technology and 20% business. So both you put them in one box, at the BU level, at the plant level. Those are the people who are responsible to deliver these projects along with the central teams. So it becomes a very federated model where the joint responsibility, goals and governance work. And if there is issue within the project, within the plant, these people can step up, because these are not the people who run the shop floor per se. They are the people who understand the technology, who understand the business. So the federated model, along with BUs and the central team, I think it works well. And the joint governance, which Anjali also spoke about, I think that is the way to go.
Thank you. Just another twist to the question. Anjali, over to you. Going forward, looking ahead, do you see any possibility of IT/OT converging into one function, keeping in mind how operational risk and business objectives are going to evolve in this scenario?
I think it's more about unifying the governance rather than an operating model, rather than looking at it from a reporting structure or unifying function. To extending Vinod's point, where he talked about federated governance model, I think that's a great point because what it does is allows the flexibility to have deep expertise of IT and OT. Because, for instance, MES system looks at orchestrating manufacturing. Cloud systems look at enterprise data analysis. Inspection systems look at AI models, for instance. So deep expertise continue to be a requirement with each of them. However, having common business outcome as goals is very critical, and having a shared governance framework is very important to unify these as operating model rather than functions.
So, in your opinion, it will go ahead and unify into one single function, or they remain federated?
They remain federated with deep expertise and having a shared governance model.
Okay. Vinod, keeping in mind that they remain federated and we are talking about IT/OT conversion, in your opinion, what would be a successful IT/OT initiative that will drive organization toward a more successful model?
See, there is no one single right answer for this. It will purely depend on what the state of the enterprise is. If the objective is, for example, this year our objective is let's get IT, OT together. What it means? Are you talking about networks? Are you talking about technical stuff, security, or are you talking about, say, a business process? So I think it will depend, but I will give probably an example which will, probably help. For example, there is MES is very common system, right? So you have got MES, and a lot of data gets generated out of MES, and MES can be of different levels. Let us not get into that whether it is good, bad, or not. But news is that they do traceability to some extent, right? So when you have got this data, the question is that what are you going to do with this data? And many times this data lies there, and some operators or the frontline workers, they use Excel, they use pen, paper, some. So it is a mix of it. But having said this data needs to get integrated with the enterprise system. That's where the IT/OT piece will come. For example, if the production scheduling has to be set up, is it in the ERP? If you are setting up the orders, is it coming from there? Are the customer requests coming from there? When you are done with the finished product, is it getting updated? So that convergence, literally from IT to OT, from the system as well as process point of view, will purely depend on each enterprise. So what is your priority? Do you want to do that? Why do you want to do that? Because customers don't have visibility. It may be a supply chain question. It may be suppliers sending the data, sending the tier 2, 3 suppliers sending us the parts. We don't have visibility to that. And customer is here waiting. You may have to create a command center. You may have to create a command tower. We don't know. So I think connecting the dots between IT, OT from the system point of view and putting a mix of data platform and AI on top of it, I think that recipe gets completed that way.
Thanks, that's a great answer. Anjali, in your opinion, for the manufacturer who are just starting their journey on IT/OT convergence, in your opinion, what they should focus on, say, top 3 priorities, keeping long-term ROI in mind for their manufacturing setup?
I think the first is start with the business problem instead of tech problem. So I've seen a lot of people who start with the objective, especially on the technology side, start with the objective of driving AI adoption. Instead of that, start with the business problems. High false rejections, for instance. So that's the first priority, I think. Second is, as Vinod said, data. And even in my previous example, in order to reduce a decision latency, you need to have a unified data layer, which typically I think in all other industries we have primitively doing it. But in manufacturing industry, I think we are still unifying the data platform, where the data generated by the machine, by ERP systems, unless they talk to each other, AI will struggle to succeed.
Absolutely agree.
And we've had this example where we built an AI model to detect the moisture content, but we didn't have a great PAT sensor. So we all know that AI is as good as data, and that needs to drill down to the level of the devices, the machines, the parts that we use, which produce that data. Third, I think having a cross-functional ownership very early in the digital initiatives is very important. Taking cross-functional teams, which is operations, quality, along with the digital transform initiatives, right from piloting to scale, I think that is something very important. Otherwise, IT may build systems, OT will not adopt it.
One follow-up clarification. You mentioned cross-functional team, ownership at the beginning of the project. Do you see any challenge establishing the ownership in cross-functional? Because there is always a area which is no man's land, if I may call it, where the handshake happens between two functions. Any advice around that?
I think that's because business objectives typically are very different. In practice, technology teams who build have never got the business, for instance, revenue quality objectives. Yeah. So unifying it as business outcome as a goal for both is what I feel will help converge these.
Okay. Thanks. Vinod, if you have to change one thing about this IT-OT convergence, what that could be?
If you had to really change one thing, then I think we should think about whether it is IT teams or OT teams. They should think about their enterprise first. I think not thinking about their boundaries. I think one should have a larger picture and not, because many times we get very, very concerned that if I go into OT, for example, I'm working in IT, I say, oh, it's an OT problem, I don't have to worry. Same thing about this. I think looking at it as one team, one enterprise, and that kind of organization change management, if it is driven from the top, and identify those people who are the brand ambassadors for that. I think that changes the whole game. Because if I'm in IT, for example, I know the pain in OT is as painful to me as it is to OT people. I think things will fall in place. And it is very simple. Many times, that problem may not be a big deal. Sometimes we follow so much of emails, but not pick up the phone and call, right? So the culture gets built like that. While your KPIs may be looking very good, but it is like that watermelon effect, right? Outside it is green, but when you cut, it is red. Same thing is about this also. If you want to really change that, think about, is that one team, one culture, and one goal, which I think Anjali also spoke, then you really enjoy the success together, because IT cannot be successful unless OT is successful, and vice versa. Together they have to make it happen. And that celebration of business leads and the IT, OT leads, when you put them in one room, because many times IT people may not visit plants. Yeah. They say, you know what, I don't want to go to the plants. Because when you go to the plants, then only you will understand the pain, right? Yeah. So same thing about when plant people will visit the people who are designing the networks. I think that bridges the gap. And also it builds a lot of good relationship, personal base. Because when you see in the plants, they are slogging for 24 hours. 18 hours, they are on the line, and they are not in the heart of Mumbai, right? They are in the remote areas of India or the world. So you have to understand the pain of those people also who are there and who don't understand the technology to that extent. So I think that if you take one step in that direction, both ways, things will be a lot better.
Yeah, very well said. I guess plant people, for them, the manufacturing, the finished good is the most important KPI, whereas the network people will talk about uptime and all that. Very well said. In one sentence, Anjali, if you have to define who owns the plant, the data, and the risk, and what is the one leadership advice you have to give to the audience to navigate this entire mesh of data, plant, and the risk, what it could be?
So I'll say this from our experience. So we are the first pharma company to be recognized twice by World Economic Forum's Lighthouse recognition. What has worked for us, as I said, is every technology transformation has started with a common business objective. Clear segregated ownerships between IT and OT, but a shared governance framework, which is not an afterthought, but a pre-thought before we start the initiative, what is going to be the governance framework for it.
Okay, thank you. Can we take questions from the audience if there is any question to our leader speakers? Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon. Myself Pawan Pilakwal and I am from Reliance BP Mobility Limited. So we are in the fuel industry and I am from the digital team of GeoBP. So my one question is, we are also driving multiple digital initiatives for our fuel retail outlets, and all the initiatives are discussed and managed by the HO team, which are handled by the HO team. And once we decided to implement these solutions, then only it will go to the ground staff. So the ground staff may feel unease to adapt this, they feel insecurity, or they are not ready to adopt this type of technologies. So I want to know your guidance, like what change in management initiatives we can drive to increase the user adoption of technology in the field for the ground users.
Can I take it? See, there is a concept, you are Pawan, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for the question, first of all. So there's a concept of democratization of technology, particularly with the digital and AI. So it is not top-down approach alone, it is bottom-up also, equally. So the action will happen only, culture will change only if the change is happening on the ground. So while the systems may be coming top-down, the trainings, the changes have to happen on the ground. So what do you do for that? You do trainings for them, webinars for them, but also give them playground. We call it technical playgrounds. You give them the playground to play with. A lot of people play with ChatGPT, a lot of play with Gemini, a lot of play with any other tools. But you need to give them those toys, digital toys to play, so that they will get confidence. Idea is not that every time group head office function, people are going to talk about digital and AI. Digital and AI is in the business, not in the central team. So as long as you are able to create those ambassadors, things will be a lot more easier. Then nobody will have to tell that you adopt this. They will be the people who will be saying that we want this. So it is going to be a pull than a push.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Just to add to what Vinod has said, what is in it for them? You have to focus on that. Instead of what is in it for HO. If you focus on that, I think adoption will be much faster.
Sure. So recently in one of my projects, so we are facing multiple escalations, like the users are not adopting the solutions. So I went to my CDO cabin and I told him like what to do. So he told me like, you have designed the solution which is human-centric or not. Have you met your users? Which type of users you have? What are the layers of users? Maybe the expectation of every user may be different. So you have to design your solution which will be human-centric, not technology-centric. You are trying to prove your technology, but somehow it will be human-centric first.
Pawan, a lot of companies, they set up usability labs before a large rollout happens. So they have a usability lab, a small room along with the cameras. They get those users, while the product is getting built, they get those users to get that feedback on the fly. So once the product is ready, you have already incorporated all the feedback. So there is no question of not adopting that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other question? Okay. So there are three things I'm taking from this session myself. One is definitely a shared model, governance around that shared model, business outcome as the first. You start there and then you take it forward from there. And the IT-OT convergence may happen, but federated structure is the way forward. Thank you so much for taking time out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we have a huge round of applause for our moderator and our panelists? And I would request them to please pose for a photograph together.